All right, we are here with the winner of Survivor 48. And now I believe the answer to a trivia question of I believe that he and Michelle Fitzgerald are the only two-time players to never be voted out. Here is Kyle Fraser. Kyle, how are you?
Dude, Rob, great to see you, man. I'm doing well, doing well.
Yes. Kyle, first off, tell us how you recovered.
Yeah. So I'm 8 months in. I just started running a few weeks ago. Achilles injuries are roughly 8 to 12 months recovery. I'm not
Mhm.
a professional athlete, so I think I'm going to be around 10. But I'm sure I'll start sprinting and jumping soon. It's an arduous injury, but I'm getting through it.
Yeah, it was a real gut punch for all of us watching the episode last night because you're so beloved, so well liked. Nobody has a bad word to say about you. And then to see, well, wait, no, not Kyle, not like this.
Yeah, it was tough, man. It was tough. I was really enjoying playing the game. First of all, that's all the edit. I'm actually a villain. I'm Russell Hand. But anyways, I was really enjoying playing the game, and I think that like people thought that our tribe, even me when I first saw it, that it was going to be this dysfunctional shit show of a tribe. Excuse my language. But in reality, we were a very cohesive group of people. I think representing what Survivor should be like. It was a crazy family, but we got along. So it was tough to be ripped away from that.
I really thought you were going to have an uphill battle in this season coming in. I said, okay, he won. They just saw him win, but it really looked like that you were set up really, really well and you were doing a hell of a job. And was that the edit or were you feeling it too?
No, that was real, man. Even up until when I got injured, my tribe mates would have my back. They were not going to vote me out. At least I think. I think that confessional, like as corny as it is, that this is not poker, it's not chess, it's people. Like, when you have a target on your back, you just win. You have to go back to the fundamentals. So I was like, I'm going to show these people who I really am. It's hard to tell exactly who I am from the 48 edit. Am I a good guy? Am I a schemer? Like whatever it may be. And so I was like, I'm going to show them who I really am, connect with them, and see if we can play the game. And I think that worked. Colby gravitated towards me. Stephanie and I got along very well. And then, of course, Genevieve. And then I started to set up my game from there.
Yeah, it was really looked like that you were in this amazing position. Plus, also then Q comes back from Exile Island, and then also Q is sharing information with you about how he doesn't have a vote. Did other people know about Q not having a vote?
So Q told me first. And then I said, as you saw, I said, hey, talk to Genevieve. Tell me what you're thinking. Q talked to Genevieve. He really liked her. So then he told her about his vote. So then now what Genevieve and I essentially set up was a threesome with Q, me, and Genevieve. And then actually Genevieve started like Rizzo. So I talked to him and me and Genevieve set up a Rizzo Kyle threesome there. So then eventually we made a foursome with Q and Rizzo because Q was very worried about this new era, old era thing. Eventually it got out because essentially the way it sort of shook out was Aubry and Angelina, we felt like they were playing together. So to sort of build consensus and to keep this camaraderie, we sort of merged that, Genevieve and I, and Colby, me, Stephanie, Q, Genevieve, Rizzo formed a little bit of a six. And Q said, hey guys, like to sort of clear the air, I don't have a vote, just so Q could be extra transparent. I think that actually worked out for him.
Okay. So that's interesting to hear in terms of the alliance at one point was up to six people with Angelina and Aubry being the only people not in that alliance. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that's fair to say. And I actually, just to put a finer point on that, and I were kind of at the heart of that. We thought Angelina was playing with Aubry, but then Angelina and I actually started to get very close, and she kind of eventually confided in me like she didn't have anywhere out there. We got along very well. I love Angelina, and so Angelina told me that I was her number one, and so then I was like, okay, you seem to gravitate towards Angelina Aubry, so me and Angelina and Aubry set up a three the night before the injury. And like I was playing hard and I knew that those narratives are scary and that it can bite you in the butt. So like I was managing these narratives. But like I thought maybe swaps, whatever it may be, I need
Yeah.
to be good with everybody and play risky like that.
Look at you. You had a lot going on.
Yeah, too much.
Yeah. Tell me about the relationship with Genevieve. Why was Genevieve somebody that you had gravitated towards?
Yeah, I knew that like the game that I need to play is sort of what I just explained to you, which is being sort of good or at least clear socially with many people and leveraging that strategically. And then when things started to grow and grow, I knew that Genevieve, like, I need somebody to manage narratives with. Like Camille and I, the reason it's able to work because like she knows what she needs to say to who, no slips, and then we're locked solid. So this thing can't fall apart because obviously, like you have one wrong sentence in Survivor, it could fall apart. I talked to Genevieve. She immediately indicated that she wanted to work with me, which was scary at first. But as the days went on, I was like, either I have a bad judge of character, I think she's actually being genuine, and she has all of the tools that I need, including now she can find idols. And then I, of course, knew it was real when she showed me. She had all the tools that I need to get far in this game. You can't play Survivor alone. And Genevieve had what I needed, and I think she would say the same for me, hopefully, to get far.
So I want to talk about that idol that Genevieve ends up finding. So were you a part of the decision of where Genevieve will send the Billie Eilish Boomerang idol?
Yes, yes. When she read that, I mean, of course, by that time I was injured. She found it with Steph, but Steph didn't get a chance to look at it. And Genevieve was like, she ran to me first and told me. And people didn't realize how close Genevieve and I were, vice versa. So she actually went back and told Steph, who then came back and told me behind Genevieve's back, which was hilarious interaction. Of course, they didn't make it. But anyways, Genevieve and I had a conversation. And I think while the edit showed maybe thinking about Ozzy because he might get voted out, I think that the criteria that we were sort of thinking about the most was who's going to be the most receptive to receiving this? And if we see them on a swap or at a merge, are they going to be receptive to being in an alliance with us? You know, Ozzy, the guy that he is, he actually might take that information well. You give it to somebody like Cerise, she might say, "Oh, thank you," and then vote you out, not because she's a bad person, but because she's like, plays this game a different way. So there was a list of people who we thought who would be receptive to this and who will give us the most options moving forward without blowing our spot up at the same time. And Ozzy felt like a good choice.
What was your relationship like with Colby? We heard in the preseason that when Mike Bloom and Colby talked about a potential schoolyard pick that Colby in his head was thinking about, he was going to pick you first, just so people would say, "Oh my God, what does Colby do? Why? I didn't know Colby and Kyle were like that."
Yeah, I mean, dude, Colby and I bonded so quickly. And it was so unexpected, not in like I would never get along with that guy, but the way that it happened so fast. We actually were kind of like the ones spearheading building the shelter. And like because of that, people were going off and grabbing things and we would have time to talk. And at first I was trying to play Colby soft. He was like, "Hey dude, what are you thinking?" And I was like, like let's play it out. We got to win challenges, kind of like a Joe thing. But Colby's like, "Brother, I want to run." And I was like, "You know what? Hell yeah." And then he's like, "Who do you like?" And I was like, "Stephanie," instinctively, because I knew that he liked Stephanie. And then he mentioned Genevieve, and I was like, "Okay, great. Now we can kind of like
Yeah.
organically form this without me pushing Genevieve." But Colby's the man, and we got along really, really well.
Any good Q stories from the first couple of days out there?
Oh my God. I mean, Q, I mean, first off, the way that he told that story with Coach and Ozzy and Jonathan, and then seeing him try to steal the key himself was so great. But I mean, Q like is this incredibly charismatic, like intelligent guy. And like the thing is, it's a switch. Sometimes he goes from Q, the realtor who makes millions of dollars, to Q, the character, but it's all genuine and authentic. I mean, that conversation about blackjack that we were having right before the boat pulled up, I mean, that was going on. That started because we were arguing about whether Q could beat craps, I think. And I was like, bro, there's no way. And like, he's so passionate about everything that I think a lot of people could learn from. The fashion show is a show. I mean, he could dance like Michael Jackson. Like he's got the moves. You only saw a snippet, but yeah, Q is he's a piece of work.
Were you concerned at all about working with Q that he is unpredictable at times? And I don't know if necessarily that's the type of ally that, in my mind, I imagine you necessarily gravitating to. Was that a concern for you working with Q?
Before the game, absolutely. There were two things for me that concerned me about Q: the chaos around him, and then also like the lore. I think from your interviews and other people on 46, like not even a pregame sense, is that Q is just a phenomenal liar. Because I remember asking people like, "How does he do it?" And he's a phenomenal liar. And so I was terrified of that. But then meeting Q in person and realizing that there are two speeds, it all clicked for me and made sense. Like this is a guy that I could go far in the game with. And like him telling me that he lost his vote, and while he withheld the Ozzy extra vote thing, him telling me that he lost his vote really kind of solidified that for me, especially because he came back with a surprise. 100% you should take that option every time, by the way, future Survivor players. But I really saw myself going far with you, and he's got a lot of the tools you need too, and you can use him as a shield. So at first, yes, but in the game, no.
When Jeff came to the camp, that I'm sure you must have known what was potentially at stake there. Was any part of you trying to downplay the injury to Jeff, either when it first happened or when Jeff came with Dr. Joe?
Oh, all day and the day before. After the challenge, immediately I had to go into the tent And the doctors quickly localized it more so towards the Achilles and not the ankle. And at that point, you have to monitor it because you can't tell, right? And so the Dr. Joe actually came back that morning, the following morning, and he said, "We're going to see what you can with what you can take and what things shake out to look like, and we'll make a decision or come back later this night to come with a decision." So, I mean, what you saw me walking around was actually kind of the later end where I kind of figured out a mechanic to make it look normal. But walking in the sand was extremely difficult. Washing the mud off, I was like getting washed away in the ocean trying to wash myself. But all day I was trying my best to let them know that like I could do this and stay. Having conversations with my tribe mates to make sure that they wouldn't vote me out. And even when they were doing the stress test on my cap, I was trying to wiggle my toes a little bit to make it seem like it was okay. But unfortunately, Dr. Joe called my bluff. And I argued with Jeff for probably 15
Sure.
minutes, 10, 15 minutes. I told him I'd sign a waiver, but argued about James and Preston and brought out my legal tools. But unfortunately, it didn't work out. And honestly, it worked out the right way.
You know, I listened to, I read Dalton Ross's article where he gave his first person account of what happened. And he talked about how that you had gotten up the ramp and then came back down to help Colby, who couldn't get up the ramp. Did Colby then feel very badly about what had happened in that you went to go save him and that's how you got hurt?
Yeah, Colby felt bad like any person in that situation would, but he shouldn't have, right? Like after the fact, yes, I ran up the wall myself right after Q, got myself up, we pulled people up. And what you saw of me tearing my Achilles was actually the second attempt, but I didn't tear it there. There was a third attempt that you didn't see, and they spliced the two together. And what
Yeah.
the doctor told me was that the repeated motion of putting my foot into the wall is what tore it. So all this to say, Colby was gassed. He was at the bottom doing heavy lifting, getting people up. The guy's 53 years old. He's an American hero. He can he's an ox, but like nobody can do that, especially with the mud covered on the wall. So like, there's no reason for Colby to feel bad. People don't get up without him at the bottom pushing them up.
Kyle, is there anything else that you want people to know about your time in Survivor 50?
Yeah, I think that like I went out there like 5 days after you interviewed me, after people saw me win $1 million. I think the critical reception of 48 was very much on my mind because I felt like I played a great game. And 48, I played idols in a flashy way. I won challenges. I was never vulnerable. I voted correctly every single time, the first winner since Tony. Yet for some reason, it felt like because of my season or maybe because of the way that I talked in confessionals that people didn't realize my game. And so I went out there and what you saw was a manifestation of sort of like what I dealt with in my life, which is like, you know what? I'm not going to underplay myself this time. I'm going to go out there, go guns blazing, walls to the wall, and show people that like I care about this game and that I can play this game. Because like coming out, I was like, I don't want that feeling again. I don't want anybody else's validation. I want people to know what type of player I am, and I want to be in those conversations. So I never got a deep dive, but I just wanted people to evaluate me in the
Yeah.
same way that they look at some of these other players. And I hope that people can finally take a look at me and say, that guy's a freaking player in this game, and he deserves to be up there.
Listen, we don't always get it right in the real time, but I think that
No,
with
not
time,
you.
eventually people and all of us, I think we do end up seeing the light and getting it right. And Kyle, you're an incredible role model, and watching you and everything that you're about, it's very inspiring. And when is the baby due?
Baby's due May 2026, so we got about 2 more months. I don't know why I said 2026, but I'm pumped up. And dude, it is always a pleasure talking to you. I'm not talking about you, by the way. You are the freaking man, and I really enjoy every single moment I get to talk with you, Rob. So can't wait to hang out in real life sometime in North
Okay,
Carolina.
hopefully see you again soon. And Kyle, very sad to see you go, but congratulations on everything that you've accomplished in a short while in your Survivor career.
Thank you so much, brother. Really appreciate it, Rob.
Take care, Kyle. Bye. This is RHAP. We know reality TV.